For section 3-1 work together, we're going to be doing 2 transactions in a journal. So in chapter 2, we would have put these in a T-chart. Now we're going to put them in a journal. We're going to talk about some specifics as we journalize in MindTap as well. So our first transaction, we paid cash from, we received cash from the owner as an investment, $2,800 R1. So the 4 steps to journalizing a transaction I have included here. So we need to have the date, the source document, a debit, and a credit. So for April 1st, I'm going to get that in there, APR period first. You only have to put the month on the first line. If I would start typing in the full name, month name, April, you notice it turns red, so that's not right. You use just APR period space 1, just as they do up here in our transaction. Okay, so there's our date. Next thing we need to have is a source document. So our source document is R1. So the date and the source document are always going to be given to you. Next, we need a debit. So we received cash from owner as an investment. If we receive cash, cash is an asset, increases with a debit. So I'm going to come over here. We never ever write cash or sales in the account title because they have their own special columns. So I'm going to write cash debit, 2,800. And then the last thing we need is our credit. So received cash from an owner as an investment. I'm going to have to go up in here to our chart of accounts and find out what our owner is named. And it's an investment, so I know we've got the capital account. So I'm going to write in Norma Dirks, capital. And notice if I make a typo, it turns red. So it has to be spelled correctly. And I'm going to debit, because we only debit our capital account. So anyone who's looking at this, the account title column, Norma Dirks, is labeling what's in the general columns. So that is transaction number 1. We have the date, we have the source document, a debit, and a credit. Moving on to transaction number 2, we paid cash for supplies on the 2nd, $415, C1. So after the first line where we type in April, we don't need to type the month every single time. So I just need to put a 2. So on the 2nd, we paid cash for supplies. I always like to get in the date in the source document. So the 2nd and C1. And then I like to do the special columns first. So I know if we paid cash, that's decreasing cash with a credit. I've got that in there. So I have the date, the source document, and a credit. So now I have to debit an account. I know that I'm going to debit supplies because we're increasing supplies with a debit because it's an asset. So that is our 3-1 work together. Show the answer. And everything is good to go. That is 3-1. For 3-2, 3-3, and 3-4, we'll be using the same company, the month of April, and just adding additional transactions into the same journal.